and the ugly in sports. I am trying to still working out the kinks here. I know I keep saying it every week, but still trying to get comfortable, filming the show and putting it on YouTube and stuff like that. And you can see me on YouTube.com under FWAMP23, spelled FWAMP 23. And also, if you like to read, I do write for this blog called newsbyyou.com. I've written about 5 articles, actually about 9 articles. The other ones haven't been posted yet. But if you want to read some of my thoughts on the world of sports, you may check that out too. And now, the bad. The first bad, and it's an ugly bad. Apparently, this incident with Mr. Brian Stowe is starting to get ugly. And by the way, you can call on the show at 323-962-1937 if you want to ask a question or discuss something in sports. Supposedly, there are reports that Mr. Stowe wasn't just some innocent victim of just a random act of violence. Supposedly, now they're trying to say that he was an unruly fan who was using, improper language in the stands and was creating a ruckus amongst the crowd around him, and apparently had an argument with somebody in the crowd. And I guess en route to walking out of the stadium, I guess this, I don't know if that happened again outside the stadium. And apparently, it doesn't still doesn't excuse somebody beating his down to his near death. But the reality is that this story is going to get ugly. In fact, I think there's going to become a racial element to the story just because of the fact that people are blaming the quote unquote Mexican gangbangers for Dodger Stadium for not having crowds. And they got this guy in custody who apparently definitely didn't do this. I just got a feeling that this story is going to get uglier, and then all of a sudden, Mr. Stowe is not going to be the story anymore. It's just going to be the treatment of, people who are being stereotyped, and it's not pretty. And the police still have no leads on the woman who drove the getaway car, or no leads on the other person who did this attack. This story is going to be around for a long, long time. Some more bad. And this is bad that kind of, I don't know, I feel bad about reporting, but it has to be reported. The LPGA. Remember the LPGA? The LPGA? Try saying that 3 times. LPGA, LPGA. The LPGA used to have great champions. They had a prominent place on TV on Saturdays and Sundays. Just like the PGA Tour does, the women's golf used to be on all the time. And then all of a sudden, network television just stopped covering women's golf. They had great champions like Nancy Lopez and Betsy King and Annika Sorenstam and Kari Webb and Sari Pak. They graced the cover of magazines. They were great people to market. And unfortunately, this generation of golf has had nobody step up and take over the golf world in the manner in which those women did at the height of their games. And it's extremely sad because women's golf, you can't find it anywhere. You cannot find women's golf on TV anywhere except for, and if you don't have the Golf Channel, you definitely can't find it. And I know a lot of people will quote unquote say, well, they don't care about women's golf, but it's still, it's still a professional sport. A lot of people play it, a lot of women play it, and it's kind of sad that it's nowhere. Now, some people are wondering why it's happened, why the change. Well, I'll throw a couple theories out there. I think the first reason why everything changed is that there was this big thing when some women got the thought that they could play in the men's game, and I think a lot of the golfing world, I think a lot of sponsors got kind of offended that, you know, when it happened, it didn't work out very well, and I think that the LPGA got caught up in trying to, uh, you know, put out a league or put out a golfing world that made it legitimized that that a woman golfer can play on the same tees as the men and compete with the men. No one said they couldn't, but they made it their business to try to make that happen. And you started getting players like Michelle Wie, who thought that she was bigger than the sport and bigger than the game. And then Michelle Wie didn't perform. And unfortunately, it killed women's golf. It made women's golfers feel belittled. And a lot of the women golfers couldn't stand Michelle Wie at first because they thought that she thought she was bigger than the game, even though she hadn't accomplished anything. And all of a sudden, all these tournaments that were big on TV, the Dinah Shore, their majors aren't even on TV anymore. I mean, for the Golf Channel to be hosting the LPGA Championships last week, if you didn't have the Golf Channel on your cable package, you didn't even see it. And it's a shame. I mean, Michelle Wie was supposed to change the world of golf. She was supposed to be the player who was supposed to be bigger than both the men's game and the women's game, and it hasn't happened. Now, there's this young lady playing out there who is just kicking everybody's tail, winning every major she gets in there. Her name is Johnny Tseng, and no one knows who she is. She could sit down right next to me right now, and I wouldn't know who she is. She could sit down right next to you right now, you wouldn't know who she was. And it's sad because she's playing unbelievable golf, and nobody knows it. I mean, she's the youngest person to have 4 majors, and she's only 22 years old. But then again, I guarantee if she went to a supermarket here in Hollywood or anywhere around this country, she'd just be treated as a normal person. And I know the world hates it. I know a lot of people hate it when this is said about sports. And I said it about basketball. I say it about baseball. I say it about football. When there's no New York teams involved, the interest in sports isn't what it is. Well, in the world stage, if there are no American teams involved, American players involved, there's no interest. And Paula Kramer and Morgan Pressel are very talented players, but they don't win anything. And so the fact that golf right now is highly Asian and women's tennis right now is highly Russian, American interest, viewership on American television is way down. I mean, think about it. If women's tennis didn't have Venus and Serena, no one would watch women's tennis. We just had the first 2 majors of the year where Serena wasn't even a part of it, and the ratings were way down. And then Serena comes back for Wimbledon, and her and Venus both lose in the same day on Monday. The first week, viewing was way up. And the LPGA, the American players that we have, they're good stories, but they're not winning. And it's really sad that we carry that much weight in some of these sports to make these sports go. And so hopefully, somebody will start to sponsor these women's tournaments to get them back on CBS, to get them back on NBC and ABC. I mean, they're all being replaced. They're getting replaced by the X Games. They're getting replaced. NBC has like an X Game type of programming. I mean, it's a shame that all these things are just falling way apart for no reason. And we'll be back to talk more bad, because there's a couple more bads to talk about on 89.7 KLAS FM after